Hello, CCL Sports Cards fans. Welcome back. I am your host, Christopher Davies. Today, I'm going to tell you my 3 best prospect bets for the 2022 season, players I've been buying and will continue to load up on, and why. Now, it's January, and we're about 6 weeks away from the day that pitchers and catchers are supposed to report for spring training. Now, I know, there's a strike right now, and things seem bleak as the sides appear to be pretty far apart, by all accounts. But at the very least, they're talking. So, I think it's time to choose which prospects we like, target them now, and begin accumulating. The reason for this is that with a hold on the season, emotion has been removed from the equation. And what I mean by that is we're a little less excited about the 2022 season because some feel it just won't happen. But I'm saying that is great news. It continues to keep prices lower, meaning it's a better time to buy. See, when the season is rolling along and pitchers start striking out the side, or conversely, hitters are hitting 2 home runs a game, this drives prices up. And as I've said many times before, I prefer to pay less for my cards. So I say, buy now. I mean, there have been some pretty amazing specials already the past month or so. If you've watched some of my reveals lately, you know exactly what I mean. Cards that would have cost me double last summer were literally half off as the snow began to fall. And that means more upside in the value of your cards if the player continues to perform come April or May or whenever the season decides to start. So, here are my top 3 prospects I think are your best bets going into the 2022 baseball season. These guys will in no way break the bank, in my opinion, and are more of an under-the-radar approach and for the most part will cost you 5 or even 10 times less than some of the more popular names. Number 3, Alec Burlison of the Cardinals. Alec tore through 3 levels last season. That's a pretty impressive debut for a guy who got picked 70th overall. Alec is only 23 and will be for all of next season. And with the way he clobbered the ball last season, I don't think an MLB debut is too far off. I mean, he started in high A and finished at AAA Memphis. Yeah, I know he only hit .234 in AAA, but that's a pretty steep climb in 1 year. You know who else had a very similar start to their career? You give up? Spencer Torkelson. Have a look at how similar their stat lines and careers stack up. The only real knock on Alec is he strikes out a ton. And more than Torque. And Torque had a better slugging percentage. But for my investment dollars, I'm going to bet on Alec all day. But don't take my word for it. Have a look at their careers on MLB.com. I think you'll see what I mean. At last check, you could pick up Alec's base autos in Bowman for around $30. That's a pretty significant discount to the other stars of the 2020 draft class, leaving plenty of upside. I mean, a Torque base will run you about $600. That's 20 times. All right, number 2. I love this kid, Drew Romo. Now, Drew is a lot younger. He'll just be 20 until late next August. But he had an amazing year for a first-year pro. Granted, the power's not quite there yet, but this kid can flat out rake. Check his stats out. He's a switch-hitting catcher with no one in his way as he climbs towards Colorado. I know the Rockies took Hunter Goodman, but he's younger and a ways off. There are other things to like about Drew as well here. Having watched some of the games at Fresno, Drew appears to be a pretty good catcher, meaning he will stick and will have a faster climb. That's likely. Also, the kid is always smiling, and I love stuff like that. At last check, you could get Drew Romo's Bowman Refractor Autos for roughly $30, and the Purples for $40. Now, for a dude with his skill set, that's a pretty good price if you ask me. I feel as though he was just cast aside in the chase because the big money is in fellow Rocky Zach Veen. He commands more dollars. Lots of upside in Romo's cards, in my opinion, going forward. Lastly, we've got number 1, Alec Thomas of the D-backs. Now, his base autos will probably run you about $70. So some of the secret is already out. It also appears he is the most MLB ready, so that is probably reflected in his prices. But I think there is plenty of gas left in the tank here. Alec is just 21 until April and finished the season in AAA last year. He hit. Are you sitting down? a whopping 369 in September, so it's not a big leap to see Alec breaking camp with the D-backs following spring training, and making a fairly big impact early on in that lineup. Now, yes, I know D-backs players don't often command the big money, but at $70 for a base auto of a 21-year-old who may debut, it's hard to pass this fella up. I wish was in on Mr. Thomas a little earlier, but we can't possibly catch them all, and I'm grateful I noticed before the weather warms up and his cards follow suit. So there it is, folks, my 3 best bets. It's hard to argue that the prices for some of these players has anywhere to go but up, provided their production continues to remain consistent. My advice remains the same. Be a smarter investor and buy in the off-season, when possible, and sell in season. Now, I'm not saying this summer would be the best time to sell any of these guys, because some investments take time, and with a fellow like Romo, for example, who is going to, in all likelihood, be in high A or double A this year, I mean, you got to wait. Also, I'm not really a flipper by nature. In fact, as much as it pains me, I try to do very little selling of prospects, and only really sell in a shorter time frame when I've loaded up too heavily on a player and his cards have risen quickly. Basically deciding I need to lighten up in case they get hurt or their performance declines continually. Thanks for watching, folks. Thank you for the continually rising comments, subscriptions, and please tell me in the comments below, who are you targeting and why? Or do you disagree with my selections? Keep the feedback coming. Wishing you all a great finish to your week.